NCAA Pick'em Boys 2025, week 12. We're almost at the end. It breaks my heart. Show's going to be a little different on the back nine because we have Jerry and Kyle leading the charge because I'm going to Worst Fest. And there's certain times you got to go. If you know Worst Fest, you know that there are good times to go and bad times. Wednesday's one of those days, so I went. So it's an early morning. I got the stuffies, the stuffles, the snuffles. I got it all. It'll be okay. Picks are due Saturday, November 15th at 11 a.m. And first game, Thursday, November 13th at 6:30 p.m., which is tonight. So get it in, get it in, get it in. Now, let's get into the recap of week 11. Grant still holding strong, 32 and 23. And we got a couple people in the positive. A lot of us 24 and 26, so it didn't get listed, but here's a lot of people that are in contention right now for that top five. And really, get those picks in. This is not the time to miss. Trust me, at the end of the season, you won't come back from it. So get your picks in. And as far as Survivor goes, we didn't have any eliminations. We still got 4 guys, including myself, in the mix. It's going to be exciting. Can't wait to see the end of the season. It's going to be a great slate of football this week. So I hope everybody is not strapped down by the wives and go watch some football, really enjoy themselves, like myself. But before we get into the glorious Jerry and Kyle, we need to get into a couple of games that screwed a lot of people up. Now, I will say a little bit more diverse week than some of the prior weeks, but nonetheless, I would say the big upset of the week was Tulane at Memphis. Memphis covered 5.5. Memphis losing that game. Almost put that on my Survivor. I'm glad I didn't. A little too tight of a game. Both of these teams are great. Memphis just, lost the steam. And Tulane is just Tulane. But next up, another surprise. Ranked 2, Indiana. At Penn State, Indiana not covering 14.5. Barely squeezing that game out at the end. I think a lot of people hate Indiana for that. Think that A&M kind of deserves that second spot, but who knows? That's up for contention as usual. And last but not least, we have ranked 9, Oregon. At ranked 20, Iowa. Oregon only winning by 2 points. Another top 10 team getting a little too close for comfort, but Oregon covers 6.5. They did not. Now, I'm going to go drink some beer at Worst Fest. Jerry, Kyle, passing the torch.
Hello, College Pick'em group, and thank you to Gavin for that lovely recap. I know this isn't what y'all were expecting, but this is the Go Howdy group hosting this because Gavin is busy at Wienerfest, or also known as Midnight Yell for A&M fans. But
we're never beating the allegations. We're
never. But gentlemen, we are in week 12. We have some big games to talk about. We're actually going to talk about 4 big matchups happening this weekend. And let's just rip the Band-Aid right off, Kyle, and start with Notre Dame versus Pittsburgh. Notre Dame is on the road. It's an 11 a.m. kickoff. We have, according to covers.com, Notre Dame 12.5 point favorites over Pitt, who is third in the ACC with a 7-2 overall record. Kyle, what do you think about this matchup? Who do you have?
So do I get to play Peter on this episode? Is that my role?
You can play whoever you want.
Because everybody in the group knows Peter and I, we've had our good joust back and forth in the group text. So if I'm Peter, I'm going ooga booga, Notre Dame better than everybody, Notre Dame win championship. But if I'm playing myself, I'm going Notre Dame's still not a bad football team. It was a great game when they played Texas A&M. And I think they're right where everybody thought they were going to be, which is they lost the 2 big games, but so far they've ran the table on everybody else in their schedule. And I'm gonna just be straight up honest with you. I have yet to watch Pittsburgh play a game this year, as I think a lot of the people in this group would probably say the same thing. But if we look at it statistically, they're not a bad football team. They've got a top 25 defense, and they've got a top 50 offense. It's racking up about 427 yards a game offensively right now. So, man,
Yeah, it just doesn't
could
help
be a
them that they
sneaky
are in
good
a
game.
weak ACC. You're right. You're right.
That is true.
It doesn't. Yeah. Now, I mean, Notre Dame can flat out win and stuff like that. That's absolutely fine. But part of the college pick'em group, as everyone knows, it's about the spread. And right now, Notre Dame is not good against the spread. They're 4-1. Pittsburgh is 7-2 for the season. And with the way that they've had to cover the spread, like 14-point favorites against Stanford, 10.5-point underdogs to Florida State. I mean, that is a significant berth of or a gimme for them at 12.5 points. And seeing that they have been, I mean, they've won every game, I believe, again at home. No, I apologize. Earlier in the season, they did lose to Louisville at home, but I mean, they're 4-1 at home, 7-2 against the spread, and like you said, they're just flying under the radar. Sneaky good offense, sneaky good defense. I actually think, do I dare pick Pitt to cover? I think so.
Let me give you this little bit of information before you lock that pick in real quick. Last time these two teams played each other, October 28th of 2023, Notre Dame won 58-7. I understand that was 2 years ago. I get that. But if you're looking at this game from a Pittsburgh fan perspective going, yeah, last time we played these guys, I think we all left at halftime, or maybe even by the end of the first quarter because we were getting run out of the stadium. So, oh man, I get it. I just looked at the injury report for both teams, and let me tell you something. They would have did a better job of just putting who's actually playing in this game, according to Covers.com, versus who's not playing, because it is just a murderer's row on both sides of so many names on the injury list. I don't see any names that I recognize on the Notre Dame side, and I couldn't tell you anything about the Pittsburgh roster if I'm being honest with you. So since you are correct, we are picking against the spread, and you said what? Pittsburgh's getting 12.5?
12.5, yeah.
Give me Notre Dame. Give me Notre Dame. I'll take Notre Dame.
I'm not gonna put this on my ticket. That's
no.
That's too much of a point spread. Don't know what kind of team Pittsburgh is because, like you, I have not watched a single down of this, so it is hard to imagine this being one that you would want to put on there. And seeing that we are still in this debacle that is the ESPN, YouTube, TV thing, it is important to note that this game is on ABC. So I know a lot of people bought antennas. You can catch this game on antenna. You're going to be good to go.
Remember when streaming was supposed to make things easier?
Supposed to, but it hasn't.
Supposed to.
Like I'm almost at the point where I want to buy a cable box again. Moving on, we are going to go from Pittsburgh down to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where Alabama, number 2 in the SEC, is hosting, shockingly, number 7th in the SEC, Oklahoma, 2:30 kickoff. This one is going to be a fantastic game, also on ABC, so no reason to even change the channel going from Notre Dame, Pittsburgh to Alabama, Oklahoma. But this is essentially Heisman hopeful Ty Simpson versus Oklahoma's stellar defense. Right now, at this time on Covers.com, Alabama is a 6-point favorite against Oklahoma, with Alabama covering the spread pretty good, 6-2-1 compared to Oklahoma's 4-4-1. Kyle, before I pass it over to you, I think I'm going to choose Oklahoma. I like what their defense can do, seeing that Alabama is very weak rushing the ball, and they're going to have to lean heavily on passing the ball. I like what Oklahoma can do, and the fact that Mateer is getting better ever since his injury in the Red River rivalry, I'm I'm hopeful because there's nothing better in this world to see Ole Miss fail and Alabama fail. And with me being a battered Tiger after everything that's going on this season, give me Oklahoma to cover and win. Your turn.
Hey man, listen, you had your shot last week, okay? You had your chance to ruin their season. You might as well just start cheering for them at this point. I get it. It's like me cheering for Texas. It will never happen. I understand. I get your side of it. But this game to me is one of those that when you look at it, you're like, man, Alabama, Oklahoma. Okay, what has Oklahoma done recently? Like they've been on a murderer's row of their own with their schedule. If you think about it, they've played a lot of tough teams. But I think one thing that you're not highlighting here is that Alabama's defense is nothing to just gloss over. They're 17th in the nation right now, only giving up, I say only, they give up 300 yards a game. But this Oklahoma offense, now I understand, we talked about it on our podcast a couple times about John Mateer and him trying to recover from this hand injury, the hand surgery. And it seems like he's getting better and better each week. And he has had to test that against some good defenses. I don't know. This Alabama defense is a lot better than I thought they were when I look at it from a statistical standpoint. And I think it's going to be one of those where John Mateer struggles a little bit, like I do with talking, apparently. He's going to struggle on the road. The Alabama defense is going to get him off the field quickly. That's going to put the Oklahoma defense back on the field a lot. I think Alabama will shoot to try to win the time of possession game in this one. And I don't agree with you if it comes down to a passing game for Alabama. You've got a Heisman hopeful in Ty Simpson, who after the Florida State game, remember when they lost to Florida State and the sky was falling and Alabama, the dynasty was over? Yeah, look at them now. They figured it out. And
Complete
I don't bet
1080.
against Ty Simpson right now. I don't bet against Ty Simpson, and I don't bet against Ryan Grubb calling his plays. They have just continued to gel and build their confidence in one another as the season has gone on. So Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb, back at it again. Didn't have him last year. Brought him in this year. Was his play caller at Washington. And it's like, kind of like getting on the old bike again. The wheels are just going and they're starting to click. So I'm going to take Alabama in this one.
Oh, I mean that was very convincing. You did say a lot of smart things there, and with it being at home, yeah, it's hard to imagine Alabama losing at home. But man, it wouldn't shock me to see Oklahoma win. I would love for them to win, but you know what? After hearing you talk about that, unfortunately, I think you're
joining
right.
the dark side.
I will never cheer for Alabama. I will never cheer for Alabama.
I just want the correct pick in the pickle group. I could care less what they do in real life football. I just need them to win for the pickle group because I am trying to claw my way back to the top right now. It was a rough couple of weeks there, but we're sneaking up there.
Now, I mean, there are other fantastic teams out there, other games that you can choose other than Alabama. People y'all can step away from this terrible, terrible team and let them be an afterthought as they deserve. Now, another team that should be an afterthought because who likes this team other than some weird people? I know Peter doesn't like this team, and I know he's going to choose against them. USC hosting Iowa in a Big Ten matchup. Still can't get over that. That sounds weird. This one will not be on ABC. This will be on the Big Ten Network, so best of luck to everyone with that. 2:30 kickoff at the same time. You have USC as of, what time is it? 9 o'clock, 8:52 Wednesday night. Covers.com has USC 6.5-point favorites, where they are 5-4 against the spread. Iowa 6-2-1 against the spread, and Iowa had a heartbreaker against a far superior team in Oregon. Now, granted, that was at Iowa and not in Southern California, so that may play a role. But Kyle, who are you choosing in this one? I feel like this is going to be a completely different game than what we saw with what we will see in USC Oklahoma, Alabama, but probably very similar to what we saw last week in Oregon versus Iowa.
So last week, Iowa definitely had the home field advantage. They had the crowd on their side. They had the terrible weather that they were playing in. It was dark before halftime, which is wild to think about. I hate this time change, by the way. But they had all that working for them. This is wild to me when I look at the stats on this. Iowa's offense is 122nd in the nation. However, their defense is number 3 in the nation. Like, when you look at an Iowa football team and you're like, how does this football team win games? Their quarterback may throw for 100 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, he may run for a lot. That seems to be his forte, but it's like, this is, to me, growing up in a small town Texas, playing a little 2A high school football, we ran the wing tee. We threw the ball twice a game. This is what the Iowa offense reminds me of. It's like they are just going to pound it up the middle, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, stay ahead of the chains. Every now and again, we'll pull out a pass, probably throw it downfield where there's nobody even close to the guy. You just got to put it in the same area code and you connect on it. I just don't understand how they are in football games offensively, but when you look at the defensive stats for them, I mean, top 3 overall in defense, top 5 in yards per play given up, top 10 in rushing yards given up, uh, top 5 in passing yards given up. I mean, they're averaging less than 200 yards, either rushing or passing, 250 yards total. But look at Lincoln Riley. And we all know what Lincoln Riley is capable of, and that is putting points on the board. They averaged 500 yards of offense for USC. And the fact that they're playing over there on the West Coast in that stadium, I just forgot the name of it.
I think the Coliseum.
There you go, the Coliseum, that's the one. So since they're playing in the Coliseum, don't have to deal with the weather, don't have to deal with the Iowa crowd. I think, what was the spread again? 6.5?
6.5. Yeah, 6.5.
Oh, I think
The other thing
Iowa
you don't have
keeps
to
it.
worry about at USC though, the fans. They're not going to be there. They're never in the stadiums. Like
Chase.
it's
I
miserable.
think that
Like
Iowa's going to keep it ugly, and they're going to keep it close for a little while. But I think ultimately Lincoln Riley will figure it out, and they'll end up winning by more than 6 points. So I'm going to take USC in this one.
I disagree. I think this is all Iowa because essentially they're just on a vacation. They're going to Southern California. It's a business trip, but there's no fans in the stadium. Their defense is far better than what the USC has played all season long. They're going to be good.
Hey,
All
uh,
right.
I wish I had your confidence. I don't see how the 122nd ranked offense in the nation can remotely keep up with an offense that's averaging, sir, averaging 500 yards a game.
But Iowa's defense is averaging 250 yards for the opponent. That's
But
fantastic. It
but when your offense can't keep control of the ball and your defense is now out there for an extra 10 or 15 minutes a game, as opposed to I I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but
I
I
I believe
think
you are wrong. I
okay.
believe Peter would agree with me, seeing that he's a Notre Dame fan and
Well,
probably
Peter
hates
just
USC.
doesn't like USC. Yeah, that's
I mean, who does like USC? And this brings up the final game, another SEC matchup, but one with college football playoff implications. Georgia hosting Texas. This is a 6:30 kickoff. This is going to be on ABC, so thank you, Lord. We got 3 top 25 matchups on the antenna. And right now, according to covers, Georgia 6 point favorites to a streaky Texas team who against the spread 2-6-1 to Georgia's 4-4-1. I am going to let you start it off, Kyle, seeing that you have a love-hate relationship with Texas. So please give me your thoughts.
if we're calling it love hate, there's very little love when it comes to that relationship. So that's putting it mildly. This is a game that when I look at it on paper or I look at it on the eye test, I go, everything about me says this game should be Georgia by 21 plus. And because of that, that means it's going to be a defensive struggle, and we're looking at like a 17-14 kind of game here. Arch Manning, for all the preseason hype that he did not ask for, by the way, he didn't ask for all that. He wasn't going around beating his chest saying, I'm the number one pick in the draft, I'm the Heisman hopeful. As the season has gone on, he has improved. He beat up Sam Houston High School down the road here, and everybody thought he had his confidence back. And then he had a couple rough games: Kentucky, Mississippi State. They ended up pulling out both those games in overtime. Looked really good last week against Vanderbilt. I don't think he was going to let that team lose to Vanderbilt last week, because I believe if Vanderbilt scored, Texas got the ball, they were going to go down and score again. No problem. They couldn't stop Texas. So we all know Georgia has an affinity for starting slow in games. Arch Manning has thrown for over 600 yards in the last 2 games that he's played. So he's figuring it out. Maybe Sarkisian early on had this offense in his head of what it was going to look like under Arch, and finally he just said, let's throw that out the window. Let's get back to doing what we know how to do. And maybe that's why the shift has changed over the last couple weeks. I was about to pick Texas there, but my heart won't allow me to do it.
The words just you can't accept it. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking of like what is a comparable offense or at least a quarterback that Texas has played this season. And I mean, the closest thing that I can see is Mississippi State, which is crazy to think, but I mean, they have a decent quarterback there. They have a decent offense, but it's not as good as Georgia. And the reason I bring this up, Texas on the road has struggled. They lost 21-29 to Florida. They were in a slugfest against Kentucky, 16-13. They struggled against Mississippi State, came down to one of the final drives or like a second half miracle, 45-38. So seeing that Georgia doesn't, or I'm sorry, Florida. Wow. Am I having a stroke? Yeah.
Whoever's playing this game.
Seeing that Texas struggles on the road, and that's bad, but they're on the road to one of the best teams in the nation, especially on defense. I'm surprised the spread is only 6 points at the moment. It could be easily 10.5 come kickoff, and it probably should. I like Georgia. I think Georgia's defense is just too strong, and their offense does just enough to keep them in it. But it is interesting where Georgia's defense is strong, that's Texas's weakness. And then on the flip side, Texas passing offense is strong, but Georgia's pass defense is weak. So the numbers are not that far off. Like, it's not complete one end versus the complete opposite end. But it's still interesting to note that it's going to be the team's strong point versus the team's weak point. But even then, I like Georgia at home. It's hard to pick Texas to beat the spread when they're 2-6-1 against the spread all season long, and they're 2-2 on the road. Like, that's not great.
And here's another stat for the pick'em group to focus on when you're thinking about this game. Like you said earlier, Texas's run offense, for everything that Quintravion Wiesner was last year, just has not been able to get it going this year. It's had some flashes. I think everybody could agree with that. But Georgia's rushing defense is, spot on. Less than 100 yards, or right at 100 yards a game, less than 3 yards a rush. Their pass defense is suspect, and Texas's pass offense is really good. But I think here is the bottom line. Texas offensive line, for as much as it has looked like a complete turnstile this year and just letting guys run past and get to Arch, they're only giving up an average of 2 sacks a game, which is not terrible. But here's the one that's shining and sticking out to me when I look at this. Georgia is ranked 132nd in the nation in sacks per game at 1, just over 1 per game. So you can stop the run, great. But if you allow Arch Manning to sit back there and get comfortable because you can't get pressure on him, and you allow him to get into a rhythm and you allow Sark to get into a rhythm of calling plays and what's working, I think they should take the approach that A&M took last week against Missouri, which was in the first half. A lot of quick passes, a lot of screens, getting the ball out of quarterback's hands early. Let your playmakers on the outside do it. Difference being that Missouri could actually pressure the quarterback, and apparently Georgia can't, which is hard to think about when you think about Kirby Smart defense. But I think that's going to be what sticks out in this game. And if Texas wins, whether covering outright, it's going to be a matter of, can they keep Arch Manning upright? Can they give him time to get through his progressions and find receivers down the field? And if they can do that, then we're looking at maybe a Georgia-Tennessee like game where it's 45-42, maybe one of those shootouts. I'm still just going to take Georgia.
Now, it does bring up an interesting point because, like we mentioned in this episode, we have Alabama, Oklahoma, we have Texas, Georgia, and what we need to know about is, like, Alabama's 4, Georgia's 5, Texas is 10, Oklahoma's 11. So every team outside of the SEC is going to be rooting for Texas and Oklahoma to lose, because right now
Correct.
you essentially have just the Big Ten, the SEC, and, like, obviously Notre Dame being independent, and only 2 representatives of the Big 12. ACC out of it. Group of 5 out of it. It's truly one of those things. It's like it's us versus them kind of mentality. But assuming that Texas wins and Oklahoma wins, the top 12 for the college football playoff is essentially unchanged. Yeah, teams may change, like, positions, but your top 12 should ultimately stay the same. Is there a realistic kind of expectation or hope that you have for bubble teams, like, say, BYU, who lost to Texas Tech 29-7, or Utah, who only has Baylor, Kansas State, and Kansas on their schedule, or maybe even a Miami, who only has NC State, Virginia Tech, and number 22 Pitt, which who knows if Pitt's even going to be ranked by the time they play them at the end of the season. Is there any hope for another Big 12 team or an ACC team to make it into the top 12, Kyle?
You hit it spot on. Yeah, Texas and Oklahoma would both have to lose. And I know there's been some talk already on Twitter amongst the talking heads of even a 9 and, say Texas loses to Georgia but wins out. They beat Mississippi or Arkansas, and then they beat A&M. Do you let a 9-3 Texas team into the playoff? And I can tell you, if you're a fan of anybody outside of the SEC, you're screaming, absolutely not. There's no way you can let Texas in with 3 losses. But if we compare resumes, I mean, that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be looking at strength of record, which is my gripe, and I have been very quiet about it. But Joey Galloway took over a couple weeks ago and said, well, why isn't Texas A&M number 1? Their strength of record, their strength of schedule, everything is up there. It's like, yeah, but let's not do that, because A&M doesn't do good with that number 1 beside their name. We found that out in the spring last year, both baseball and softball, just after they got number 1. So let's not do that. I'm fine at 3. But if we're looking at all the metrics, which is what we're supposed to do, there is the eye test. I get it. And that's when you have a group of people, and I know I'm going to toot your horn for a second because you love the BCS system. When you have a group of people, there's so much who likes this team on the eye test, who likes to look at the metrics, who are people recusing themselves because there are people in that room, mind you, that have ties to some of these schools, which is just, how in the world did they get on the committee? But anyway, if you look at metrics or eye test, tell me a team right now you think BYU should be in. They couldn't.
I was actually looking at that. Yeah, like, the only team that I see on this that realistically has a shot over a 3-loss Texas team or even like a 3-loss Oklahoma team, Utah. Like, Utah has only lost 2 games. Their resume, like you said, is pretty stellar. I mean, yeah, they lost to number 17 Texas Tech. And yeah, they lost to number 15 BYU. But that loss to BYU was 24-21. And then they're essentially the only other team that has 2 top 25 wins, one against Arizona State and one against Cincinnati, which as of now, I mean, Cincinnati is number 25. And who was that other team? Arizona State? Arizona State, I believe, it was just right on the cusp of it. I don't think they're not in the top 25 anymore.
Let me ask you this then.
Yeah.
Do you take, so say for whatever reason Texas A&M beats Missouri. I mean they did, excuse me. But say we get to the end of the season, Missouri's unranked. Yeah, I don't know. That's brain. So Texas A&M beats Missouri. Missouri ends up unranked this season. Do we still count that as a ranked win for Texas A&M at the end of the year? Or are we saying, well, I mean, you beat Missouri, you ended up being 6-5 on the year?
Right, and that is a fantastic argument. I do not count that as a top 25 win.
I don't either. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, you can measure it as like, yeah, at the time it was a top 25 win, or like how they said with the LSU beating the top 4 preseason teams in the 2019 season. But I agree. Like, if you were to say like Miami, for an example, like they beat a number 18 South Florida or number 18 Florida State, they're dog shit now. Like that, neither one of those are a valuable win. It's one of those things that, like Notre Dame, it's as shocking as that sounds. It's great that Notre Dame is up there, because what I see is they lost to what is Miami now? Number 15 Miami, and they lost to number 2 or number 3 A&M. Those are quality wins. And then they also beat number 17 USC. Those I can get behind. But no, I have zero problems. And for anyone in this group that is an ACC fan that is crying foul and that it's pro Big Ten and pro SEC, get better. Because you, like everyone says all across the nation, you can only play the schedule that you're given. Notre Dame is given the easiest schedule, minus 2 games, and look where they're at. Y'all can't, no. I'm sorry, ACC, this is not your year.
That's what everybody's saying about A&M right now. Like, well, look at their schedule. Look at who they played. What have they done so far? Like, yes, we have been on murderer's row as far as fired coaches on our schedule. And Billy Napier's gone now. Brian Kelly's gone now. Sam Pittman's gone now. So, and now apparently Samford, our cupcake at the end of the year, has fired their coach too. So we get to play
just a Frankenstein of a team, hilarious, week after week
but
after
anyway,
week.
You know, I agree with that. I don't think we can look at all the preseason and then before. Like, we got to look at it at the end of the season. And right now, A&M has one quality win, potentially, because Florida, Mississippi State, I don't think Missouri's going to be ranked at the end of the year. I think they'll falter one more time, especially with the rumors now that Coach Drink has taken the Penn State job. Saw that today. So, don't know if there's any truth to that or not. But anyway. So to get back to the original question, we went a long way around to the point, which we normally do on our podcast, if you guys listen to it. If you're a team outside the SEC, you are absolutely hoping that Texas and Oklahoma lose this week, so that way they can be out of the conversation. But if Texas and Oklahoma win this weekend, yeah, you don't expect Bama and Georgia to drop out. They may drop a couple spots, and maybe Texas and them go above now because of head-to-head. But if you're a fan of anybody other than the SEC, you are hoping that not only do they lose, but they lose embarrassingly so that the committee won't even consider them after that.
You're not wrong. And with that, Kyle, College Pick'em Group, spectators of the Go Howdy podcast, that is it. Remember, picks are due Saturday at 11 a.m. before the kickoff. There are some games going on now, as well as tomorrow night, which is Thursday, and I think Friday as well. There's no excuses. Gavin did not choose the right setting, apparently, and you cannot auto-pick. So if you forget, you forget, and that is a hill at this time of season where you just can't come back from it. But remember, picks due 11 a.m. Saturday, and with that, happy picking.